We'll walk through the key connections for a Cerebro EMS installation in a new building. We'll be demonstrating using the Ligero Shelf EMS, but the connections for the Cerebro cabinet are identical. It's a quick refresher. There's a longer reference video available, but this one covers everything you need to get connected. We'll keep it under 5 minutes. This is a Cerebro EMS cabinet. It's 14 inches wide by 20 inches tall and installs in the electrical room. Inside the cabinet, you'll see a PoE switch and router, a Maestro controller, power input where 120 volts or 3-phase 208 is used to power the cabinet, and a revenue grade meter. On to the communication connections inside the EMS. In EMS, you're going to find the components that we showed previously. On the left, you have the PoE switch, the router, and the Maestro. And again, this is on a Ligero, but the same components are in the EMS. All of these are powered by 120 volts. The PoE switch and the router will be plugged in when we receive it, but the Maestro will not yet be plugged in, and you need to make the power connection of the Maestro. It uses a micro USB connector, and make sure that the flat side of the micro USB connector is facing up when you plug it into the Maestro. Okay, now we're to do the router connections. The only input that you need to make into the router is the building internet that's going to come from the comm room in the building via EM key or tech cable, and it's going to plug into the WAN port on the router, the WAN port. That's the only connection on the router. Now over to the power or Ethernet switch. There's going to be labeled on top up to 4 Faros. You're going to plug your first Faro connection into port number 1. It's important that you put it in port number 1, not 4. And that has to be Cat5e or Cat6 cable. Can't be Cat5. That's going to be routed out to the parking garage to where your Faro is already mounted in the garage. And we'll talk about how to mount it in a minute. The other end of the Cat5e or Cat6 cable is going to be terminated in RJ45, and it's going to enter the Faro through one of 2 entry ports, and you can use EMT coupling for those ports. You're going to make sure that you plug that into the Internet In labeled component, not the Internet Out. It's going to be the Internet In down at the bottom, and that is going to provide the communication from the Faro back to the EMS cabinet. So again, we're going to plug the building internet into the WAN port on the router. That's the only connection we need to make to the router. And we're also going to plug the Faros into the PoE switch, the Cat5e or Cat6 cable. One thing to note is that the Faros do have the ability of daisy chain. So if you want to run 2 Faros off of one PoE output, you simply connect the internet out from the Faro and run that off to the internet in of the next Faro. The only other device and connection inside in this cabinet you need to worry about is the meter. It's going to be connected with one of these blue dongles. You take that dongle and you're going to plug it into the USB port on the Maestro, the top left USB port. And that will be the meter connection. If there are 2 meters in the cabinet, there's a USB memory stick in the Maestro. You can take that out of that port and move it to the left so that it's easier to insert the second USB dongle into the Maestro. And the meter itself is hardwired powered to the cabinet, so as soon as the cabinet's powered up, the meter will already have power. There's no connection. So next we're going to talk about installation of the Rogowski coil current transformers that are used on all Cerebro EMS cabinets. This is a Rogowski coil. It's a voltage output regulated current transformer. It comes in 3 different size of loops, multiple different lead lengths, and multiple sizes of current when it's. These will all be specified and delivered prior to delivery. The coil itself opens quite easily. It's easy to place over bus bars and other things. And this is going to monitor your main service that we will specify. The coil has an arrow on the top. The arrow would point to the load side of the coil, and that's important enough to put on there. And you simply squeeze them to open them, and they close quite easily. These are going to be placed on either the house service or an easy service is a separate service. Wherever the utility is metering, that's where these are going to go, not in the top of the EB cabinet. They're going to be labeled with the size, the current limit on the thing. So it's important to note that 1,000 is actually good for 1,200 amps in North America. The 2,500 is good for 3,000 amps in North America. And the 5,000 is good for 6,000 amps in North America. If you have the wrong sides or they don't fit, contact Unico Power. Inside the EMS cabinet, there's going to be 2 sets of terminal blocks that will support up to 2 meters. For your single meter installation, you use a less set. Each C key has 2 leads and a ground. The ground wire is not used for installations and can simply be wrapped around the cable. There's going to be a white and a brown wire. In from the meter to the terminal blocks, there's going to be a black and a white from the meter into the top of the terminal block. Match the brown wire to the black wire and the white wire to the white wire from the meter. Final step is to make sure the Faro access points are installed correctly. Now these can be ceiling mounted or they can be wall mounted. Your EMT is going to run into the Faro either from the bottom for wall mounted or from the back for ceiling mounted. There's going to be 2 holes in the device. One of the holes will have a rubber grommet in place. If you're mounting from the ceiling, you'll take the grommet out of the back and move that to the bottom of the device. If you're wall mounting, you'll leave the hole open in the bottom of the device. Standard EMT 3/4 or 1/2 inch can be used, and a preferred ceiling mount, you're going to go 12 to 18 inches from the ceiling into the back of the device, and you're going to use a regular EMT fitting. The device is light and doesn't need any other structural support. That's it for installing the Faros, and you can connect them up as Lee identified earlier in the video. Covers the key communication connections for the Cerebro EMS and Faro installation. If you have questions during your install, Unico Power support team is here to help. Send an email to support@unicopower.com